Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Coventry, and this is another brewery who I've never tried anything from, so a completely fresh review in this case. So for this one we're going to go down to Twisted Barrel Ale, and this beer is called the Be Back Before Dawn. So it's a West Coast double IPA and it comes in at 9% ABV, and I've heard from Harry Meadows at Blue Nose Beer Reviews that this is a good brewery, and this beer in particular is a pretty interesting one. So definitely looking forward to this. It is nice to kind of refresh it up a little bit. There's not that many breweries doing West Coast style IPAs these days. Everyone is going for the big hazy kind of New England style thing at the moment, so it is nice to take a bit of a step back and have a change of pace and go for a West Coast double IPA. So like I say, hopefully this is a good one. Harry's told me it's good, so I'm sure it will be, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. It's always cool to introduce you guys to new breweries that you might not have heard of before as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Twisted Barrel Ale. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Twisted Barrel Ale are based in Coventry, and they were founded back in March 2014. For a period of time they were actually the smallest commercial brewery in England with only a 60 litre brew kit. They were only able to produce around 120 bottles per brew actually. So in 2015 the company moved to the Fargo village and they opened a new brewery and tap room, and the new brewery equipment can brew 1,000 litres of beer at a time, and the tap room can hold up to 300 people at any one time as well, and they've got 23 tap lines there, so they've got a lot of their own beers. And I think they do show, they do have some kind of guest beers and collaborations and stuff like that as well. But they also very recently expanded their fermentation capacity further by 3,000 litres as well. They've got some of these nice big fermentation tanks that they can use, and then they can and bottle their beer and stuff like this. But the two directors at the brewery are Chris Cooper and Richard Bosworth. They of course were the ones who founded the company. Richard Bosworth is the, Richie Bosworth, sorry, is the head brewer. They're joined by brewer Carl Marshall, who studied at Brew Lab in Sunderland, and also Aaron Airdley, who worked in the bar and is now moved up to be a brewery assistant as well, and they've got a few different bar staff in there as well. But they're an interesting company that seem to be on the up, and like I say, Harry told me that they produce some really nice beers as well. He's often in that area. He's based in the kind of in the Brum area, so he gets to go to Coventry and all these things quite a lot actually, and he recommended this beer to me, told me it was pretty good, so I'm glad that I'm able to review this one for you here on the channel. It's an interesting company, like I say, always cool to introduce you guys to new beers and breweries. If you want to learn a little bit more about this brewery, of course, take a look at their website. I'll put the link in the description below, and take a look at their Facebook page as well. They've always got some interesting things going on there, but that's all you need to know for just now. Let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So I'm not sure what the artwork on this one is meant to mean. Just Be Back Before Dawn, just a kind of magic key or something like that. That's almost like a supernova in the background there. I always love my astrophysics stuff. That's my main trade, of course, is astrophysics, but I'm not sure why there's a key in a supernova. The key to the universe, or something like that. You get the key to the universe and get told to be back before dawn. Not quite sure, but I do have to admit I always enjoy it when there's a good bit of artwork on the beers. Peter, of course, over at the Clueless Drinker is the one who's really into art and film and things. He can probably interpret it a bit better than me, but yeah, it tells you in the back there. I do like the thing that it says down here at the bottom. It says no animal or human was hurt, manipulated or paid a low wage in the making of this beer. I do like that on this little bit there. There's some of the specs on the beer. Doesn't tell you what hops and malts and things are in it, but if you want to pause that and have a look, by all means go ahead. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. As I said, a 9% Imperial double West Coast style double IPA, however you want to describe it, but it should be really nice. And I'll tell you something, you can smell some of the nice juicy fruits coming off this beer as you open it up. Ooh, that looks good. That definitely looks good. So yeah, as you can see with this one, and as you'd expect from the West Coast IPA, it's got a nice it's actually got a little bit of haze to it, which is kind of interesting, but it's got that nice kind of bright golden amber colour. If I put my fingers behind the glass there is a degree of transparency, but there is a little bit of haze to it. Solid one finger, frothy, slightly creamy coloured head on this one, I would say. You can smell that this is a West Coast IPA right away. The malty qualities are just coming out it quite nicely, but there's a lot of juicy fruit in there as well. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, it looks pretty nice and pretty much what you would expect from a West Coast style double IPA. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Ooh, that smells pretty nice. Right, I reckon there's a wee bit of, I do wonder if there's a little bit of Simcoe in there. There's a little touch of passion fruit, I think, but there's a bit of citra. I reckon there's citra in here. Definitely some mangoes. I think a little touch of passion fruit. It could be grapefruit right enough, but the grapefruit, again, could come from citra if they're using that in there. And there's a bit of an orangey kind of tangerine note. I'm not sure, it would be either Amarillo or citra that will give you that. Azaka, of course, is another one. Pacifica, that can give you orangey notes. But there's a little bit of an almost blueberry quality to this beer as well. It's got a little bit of a kind of reddish, berryish, juicy fruit at the end, which does make me think there's a bit of mosaic in there. So yeah, tangerines, a little bit of blueberry. I think there's a bit of lychee coming out of this beer as well. There's maybe a wee bit of a kind of peachy, apricot-y note in there too. All things are making me think citra. Maybe some, it could actually be pineapple. Pineapple, you can sometimes get pineapple from mosaic as well, actually. But it does it basically, it's got a big, juicy, fruity character to it, which is nice. There's a little bit of floral character, but mainly that side of the hoppiness leans towards the grassy side of things. There's a little bit of a bready quality. You can smell that there's a little bit of caramelly, biscuity sweetness to this beer. I'd say it leans a little bit more towards the caramelly side of things. And of course, at 9%, you would expect that a little bit. This is going to be quite a boozy double IPA, I would think. But it does smell really nice. It definitely leans towards the fruity, juicy side of things. There's a lot of lovely fruity hops, the high alpha acid hops in this one. I would suspect when it's a West Coast style IPA, they will be using a lot of the American hops. I'd be tempted to say maybe there's a bit of mosaic in there. I think citra, there could be a little bit of Simcoe, obviously one of the classic American hops. But it smells really nice. Just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get stuck into it. Really nice smelling beer, and I like the way that the caramel and the biscuit is coming out of this too. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this one. So this is the Be Back Before Dawn, a West Coast style double IPA, Imperial IPA at 9% from Twisted Barrel Ale in Coventry, down in a bit further south than me in England. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, that's a pretty nice beer. I like how that comes across. It's not quite as sweet in the malt base as I was expecting from the aroma, I have to admit. It does lean a little bit more towards the bready side of things. It doesn't quite have the same caramelly sweetness that I was expecting from it. But yeah, that is that's a good beer. If you get the chance to try this one, definitely have a go at it. The caramelly sweetness that I was saying wasn't there. It does start to push its way out a little bit more in the aftertaste. There's a little bit more of that kind of comes forward. Yeah, definitely. As your mouth kind of adjusts to the beer, you do start to get a little bit more of that caramelly malt base out of it. But yeah, the malt base, as you'd expect, it's got that nice kind of pale malty character that just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that, you start to get a slightly sweeter bready quality to it, and then in the middle of the palate you pick up that slightly thicker sweet caramel. There's a little bit of a biscuity note in there as well, which is quite nice. But I would say the caramel really starts to come out as the beer mellows out. You've seen how long it was since I took a sip of this beer, and I'm really starting to get the caramel and biscuity notes out of it now. I do like how this one kind of comes across. The malt base, it's one thing I really do miss about the West Coast IPAs when there's this whole hazy craze going on. I do miss having a little bit that sweet caramel in there. I love the West Coast IPAs. I really do miss them a little bit. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of an earthy quality there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you can feel there's a little bit of a floral quality to this beer. It's not too pungent in terms of IBUs actually. It doesn't say on the bottle, or the can, sorry, what the IBUs of this beer are. I would suspect it's maybe around 50, 45, 50, I would be guessing. But round the very front curve of the palate, you get a little bit of that kind of lighter grassy note. There's a little bit of a floral aromaticity to the beer, like I'm saying. There's maybe a wee touch of spice in there. But then as you just go behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that little oily bubble, where all these nice kind of juicy fruity notes start to come out of the beer. But yeah, this one's nice. So for me, there's a little touch of a grapefruit or kind of passion fruity note coming out of this beer. So I'd say that sort of darker tropical fruit note is forming the base plate. I think there's a wee bit of a mango on top of that. There's a sort of peachy flavour to this one as well. It does have a little bit of that kind of peachy note, which is quite interesting. But as you go further and further into the aftertaste, you start to get some of the tangerine oranges. I do suspect there's a little bit of a mosaic in here, and I think citrus probably being used as well. I would be guessing, of course, but it's always fun to guess what hops they use in the beer. But I think there's a little bit of lychee, maybe a wee bit of gooseberry coming out further into the aftertaste, and maybe just a little touch of a slightly blueberry note or pineapple or something like that. Yeah, I'm not so sure about blueberry. I think the lychee and the gooseberries. A little bit of gooseberry kind of coming out later on, although that said, I'm changing my mind about the blueberry now. It is starting to come out again now. But the main thing to take away is the fruity part of the beer does have a little bit of complexity to it, which is really quite nice. I like how they've got that slightly darker tropical fruit forming the base plate, and then the other things start to come out on top of it a little bit. It's just a really nice, well done, solid beer, I would say. So have a go at it. You know, if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it for yourself. They've done a really good job of that. They only kind of can a few of their beers. This one's a seasonal release, of course, but they only can a few of their beers. And I would say with this one, they have done they've done a good job of this beer. So a big thumbs up to the guys at Twisted Barrel Ale for this one. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again. That would be a good addition to a core range if they decide to scale up their canning and bottling and stuff like that. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say mid-bodied, definitely. Yeah, mid-bodied beer, this one. Carbonation's quite smooth. It's got quite a big oily mouthfeel, this one. A little bit of hoppy bitterness. Not going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs, right enough. Good bit of juicy fruity character to this one, and the malt base is quite interesting. It's not quite as sweet as you would expect. It's mainly a smooth malt base, although the sweetness does build as you go further and further into the flavour. But overall, it's a nice beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one. And again, they've done a really good job of that, and I'm glad that I got to try this one. So yeah, the Be Back Before Dawn, a West Coast style double IP from Twisted Barrel Ale in Coventry. If this is the kind of beer they're producing at this point, then I think they've got a good future ahead of them, and I can see why Harry recommended this one to me. It's nicely done. Is it my favourite double IPA that I've tried? Maybe not quite, but I think they've done a really solid effort with this one. And as I say, it's good to see that these kind of newer craft breweries are going back to trying the West Coast IPAs as well. There's too many folk just focusing on producing the big hazy New England IPAs at the moment. So I would like to see more of these West Coast IPAs over the next little while. But yeah, really nice beer, and I recommend that you have a go at this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Twisted Barrel Ale as well, and hopefully I can review a few more of those for you in the future. Do check out my social media, follow me on Untappd and all of these kind of things, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Be Back Before Dawn, a West Coast style double IPA from Twisted Barrel Ale in Coventry, a little bit further south in England. Thank you to Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews for the recommendation of this one, and make sure you check out his channel as well. I'll try and remember and put the link to him in the video description below. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Skål.